Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Adult Chair on Rash Pixel FM. I am Michelle Chalfant. Well, today's show is again a whopper. I have gotten this question asked hundreds of times, I think, and many, many times in that closed group, which is, how do I move someone else that I love, that I care about, in their adult chair? How do we get other people into their adult chair? That is what I'm going to be talking to you about today. But first, you can find out more about the show on theadultchair.com. You can subscribe for free by signing up for our mailing list, or subscribe anywhere podcasts are served with a quick search for The Adult Chair. You can join the conversation on Facebook or Instagram, and make sure to request to get in the Adult Chair closed private group on Facebook. That is where we learn and practice and get support to live in the adult chair. So, last bit of business, the Adult Chair Level 1 Intensive, Nashville, Tennessee, April 28th and 29th. If you really want to learn how to integrate this, come on to Nashville, Tennessee, April 28th and 29th. All the details are on the website. I have an itinerary on the website, what we do every day, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. And if you're flying in from out of state, look at Southwest. That's our hub, and the tickets are usually pretty inexpensive on Southwest. So we hope you can join us. At this point, I don't know that I'm going to do another class in the next few months. So that's all I've got for right now, April 28th and 29th. Okay, here we go. How to move others into their adult chair. I feel like I wish I had a drum set so I could play a drum roll, like... Because I know everyone's like on the edge of their seat wondering, how do I do this? I've got my mother, father, sister, brother, aunt, uncle, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, and they need to get in their adult chair because I'm living in my adult chair. How do I get them to move into their adult chair? The drum roll is, here's my drum roll. You cannot stop trying. Stop trying to move other people into their adult chair. But I shouldn't say that's 100% true. There's not a magic pill to get someone else in their adult chair, but let's face it, you guys, if you like what's on this show or the teachings of the adult chair, if you like it, it's because you were ready for it and you are making the shift into your adult chair for you. So to get someone else to move, they've got to want to do it. Like, you want to do it. I want to live in the highest version of myself. So I'm going to practice that for me, not for anybody else. So if you have, again, a friend, boyfriend, etc., they need to want it for themselves. If they don't, they're not going to do this. But there are some things that we can do to help encourage them maybe to get a little bit more into their adult chair. So that is what I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about right now. The most important thing, again, is that we show up in our adult to give someone else, or these other people in our lives that we want also in their adult chair, we give them an experience of what it's like to live in a healthy version of ourselves, or in this adult chair perspective, from this adult chair perspective. So we want to model for them how to do it. So the more we show up in our adult chair, the more they're going to want to move into their adult chair, or at least maybe they'll just want to get a little bit healthier. So it's not to say that they want to be on your path. They want to be on their own path, their own life path, but they might do it because it just feels good and they like how you're showing up in your life. So your job is to be the best you that you can be and become, so that other people, again, they may or may not want to join you. So that's absolutely one way. So we want to live a life, again, if we're living in our adult chair, we want to stay connected to ourselves. We want to live with fact and truth. We want to do our best to stay out of story and assumption. We want to own our own realities. The more we do that, the more we change who we are. And when we change who we are, other people around us also begin to change. It's just law. It's just how we are set up in this great universe of ours. So I know a lot of couples that are not in the same place in what I would call on their spiritual path, because this whole process of the adult chair is a spiritual path. It's the process of self-realization. It's uncovering our true selves. So Sometimes one person is further along than the other, and then it might switch, or one person is not really living from their adult share and they don't want to. That's okay. Just keep living from your best self. I usually refer to it as doing the dance. So we've spent our lives dancing with other people in our lives, metaphorically speaking. We dance, let's say, doing the waltz for all these years that you've known me. I've been doing the waltz with you. But then I begin to live in a higher version of myself, a healthier version of myself. That means I might start doing the polka. So if you want to dance with me, you also have to do the polka, because I'm not doing the waltz anymore. That's the old me. So it encourages other people to learn a new way to engage with us when we just work on ourselves. So it really doesn't matter where the other person is. The question is, where are you? And are you growing? Are you evolving? Knowing that nothing in the universe stays constant. Energy is always in motion. As much as we think sometimes we're so stuck, nothing stays stuck. It's temporary. When you feel trapped, think about any time in your past when you feel trapped or stuck, it's temporary. I think about when people call me or text me or email me and they go, oh my God, I need to come in for a session. All this stuff's happening. It's terrible. And unfortunately, I might not be able to get them in for a week or so. And then when they come in and they sit in front of me and they'll look at me and go, I can't even remember why I called you. I know I was in crisis. I'm like, yeah, because nothing ever stays constant. Nothing stays stuck. We don't stay stuck in the crisis forever. So again, the more you work on you, the more light and energy and adult share presence you bring into the relationship, regardless, again, of if it's a partnership, a love interest, a friendship, with your parents, siblings, boss, I don't care. The more you work on yourself, the more the relationship changes, because the more patient you're going to become, the less reactive you're going to become, the more you love yourself, the more present you are, the less that other person bothers you, because we're less triggered because we were working on ourselves. The more you're in your adult, the more you're owning your reality, you're less maybe codependent, okay? The more healthy you are. It's just everything starts to change the more you work on yourself. So I think you all heard the recent show. I just did it. It came out. It said, It's All About You. But when you listen to it, you'll realize I'm talking about the phrase that I love is it's all about me. And it really is all about staying connected to ourselves, because then we know what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. And that connects me into my adults. We just want to model this for other people. What do you get from your partner? Let's talk about just love interests for a minute. Whether you're married or you're just in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship or you have a partner, whatever it is, think about this. If you're really frustrated with them because they're not in their adult, think about this for a minute. Instead of looking at what you don't have or that they're not in their adult, what do you get from them? What do you get? Do you get any kind of love, any kind of support, any kind of curiosity about who you are? Maybe they're just really understanding. Maybe they're really affectionate. Look at what you do get and focus on that. You will get more of it. What we focus on, remember, we get more of. They don't need to be where we are. They need to be where they are, and just allow them to morph and change and grow into whomever it is that they're meant to be in this lifetime. So, however, some people come in and say their spouse is clueless. What am I supposed to do with so-and-so? He or she won't shift, or, my partner just is dumb as a rock and they don't want to move into this place, and I want to self-realize and they're not, la, 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 la. Take it slow. Let them learn. I just mentioned that dance. Remember, it's a dance. Keep working on yourself. Okay? And remember, this does happen as well. Some partners that we are in relationship with, again, I don't care who it is, any kind of friendship, anything like that, the more that I work on myself, the healthier that I become, the more loving of myself that I become. Sometimes the people that we are in relationship decide not to dance with us at all and they leave. And that's okay. They're just not a vibrational match for us anymore. It's perfectly okay. The relationship is over. It's not bad. There's no judgment about it. There's no story about it. That person came into our lives. Again, I don't care if it's a marriage or a friendship or a boss or whomever. They came into our lives and it's over. Be okay with it. I did a whole podcast on this. Ending relationships. It's okay. Let me give you an example. So, again, not that this relationship is over, but just that we're not in the same place. So with my husband, he still goes into stories and assumptions with me. And it used to really trigger me and bother me, and I'd defend myself and I'd get so mad. And now I truly do slow down, and I'm not perfect, but not every single time, but most of the time now I'm getting really, really good at when he says, you always do this, or you never do this, and this is going to happen, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, that's just not true for me anymore, but thank you. That's just not true. But this is what's true for me, and I'll share it with him. Owning our reality, I don't care if you come from any kind of dysfunctional or unhealthy background, or whether you're walking around with codependency or an adult child of an alcoholic, you're living with a narcissist and you're gaslight, whatever it is, I'm telling you, I firmly believe learning to live in your adult share heals all of this, because it's the higher spiritual truths all under one umbrella called the adult share. It's all of the healthiest tools and techniques and learning to live in the healthiest version of yourself. It's all in this model, you guys. So, and one of the big things is learning to stay present. And we need to learn, regardless of where you came from or what's going on in your life right now, you gotta learn how to own your truth, or how to own your own reality. So it's slowing down and getting present and tuning inside of us and asking ourselves, what's true for me? Because this person might not agree, or I've got all these people in my life that are not agreeing with me, or this person's drinking over here. What's true for me? So we really need to get good at that. And that's what I've had to learn how to do. I did not grow up this way. I've had to learn how to hold on to my reality and hold my energy and stay present and solid in who I am. So actually, I have a good example of this. He just said something to me a couple weeks ago. He said, you're still so correcting of the kids. Because when I was younger with these kids, mind you, I have a 17 and 20-year-old right now. When they were in grammar school, I did a lot of correcting. Do this, don't do that. It was all this codependency stuff. I would do stuff for them. It was very, very codependent when they were in grammar school, which was a long time ago. So my husband said to me the other day, because he heard me say one thing that fit in that old filter, hey, you're doing it again. I noticed that you blah, blah, blah with the kids. And I had to sit there, slow down. This is where I know when I was younger and I was codependent, I would give him my power and go, oh, shoot, I did that. Now I slow down. I go, you know what? That's not true for me. That's the old me. And let me share with you an example of how that's not who I am anymore. And I know you think that based on one sentence that you just heard me say to our older son, that's how I talk to them. But I don't talk to them like that anymore. Now, sometimes I do. Again, I'm human, but that's not how I talk to him. I said, and you missed a 30-minute conversation I just had with our older son, where I was encouraging him and I was telling him how proud I was. And I was, all of these beautiful things. And he goes, oh, you did? And I said, yeah. And I said, I notice this keeps happening. This is being in my adult chair. I'm sharing my reality. I'm sharing my truth, and I'm letting him know what I'm perceiving from my perspective. And I said, I noticed that you are seeing me from this old perspective. I said, in this old filter. Remember what a filter is. It's beliefs of how, it's a way to keep us safe, but it's how we form like a vision in the world. It's like old glasses that we had put on like a long time ago, but it made us feel safe in the past. So it's like beliefs of how the world works and how people are in the world. That's a filter, in my opinion. And the way he was seeing me was incorrect. So I said, that's just not who I am anymore. I'm very encouraging with these kids now. What you're talking about is something I did over 10 years ago. That's just not who I am anymore. And I would love if you would not mind doing your best to see how I am today in 2018, because that's not who I am anymore. And he's like, wow, I didn't even know. And I said, yeah. So again, that's a way to help them, someone that's not, living in my perspective, see who I am today. And honestly, it's the craziest thing when we have filters, we can't see who other people are. So when we're living in our adult chair as much as we can, and we want others to live there, we want to start sharing our reality and helping them to change their filters on us about who we are. So here are a few ideas. I think I've got about 6 or 7 maybe ideas on how we help others to, it's our job to do these things, but it really does help people see us maybe more clearly or help them to move into their chair. But I would say it's an indirect way to help them to get in their adult chair. So here we go. Number 1, it's education and boundaries. It's just like what I just said with my husband. We got to teach them how we want to be treated. And this is how I'd like you to interact with me. And again, it's about updating their filters. We all have filters with how we see the world, and they all need updating. So it's our job to educate people. Especially I find this with parents. Parents see us like we're still little kids. So it's our job to go, that's just not who I am anymore. And it might take us repeating ourselves many times. It's like we just have to update them on who we are today. So it's education. And the boundary part, it's like teaching other people how we want to be treated. That's what a boundary is. It's not saying to be confrontational. It's teaching other people just how we want to be treated. So I'll give you another example. I was having a really overwhelming day a few weeks ago, and I had gone to meet my husband out to dinner, and we met in the parking lot. We drove 2 separate cars. So we were standing there together, and we're walking in, and he goes, "How was your day?" And I said, "Just want you to know I'm in my Scorpio self," which means he knows. I said, "I'm overwhelmed and I'm in my Scorpio chair right now, or my Scorpio place." And he said, "Oh no." And he goes, "Oh no." And I said, "No," I said, and I kind of was smiling, and I said, "It's just been I said, "I've been working all day, and it seems like my list keeps getting longer and longer, and da 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 da." And he's like, "Oh, okay," and then we went and sat down in the booth, and he was facing me, and I could feel his whole energy slide. And he goes, "Well, what happened?" And I started telling him, "Well, I'm trying to do this, and I've got all this material I'm trying to create, and I've got all this, I was telling him all my work stuff that's going on." And then he goes into fix-it mode. He said, "Well, you need to do this and you need to do that," which I know so many people that tell me they have the same experience, and you would think my husband would get it. I've been doing this work for many years, and I have to say, it's not that black and white. There are many times when he's good, but this particular time, when I really, really needed it, he was not. So I said to him, "You know what? I think that we need just to stop talking about this right now, and let's talk about it later." He's like, "Oh, well, you don't want my help or blah, blah." And I said, "Nope, I just feel like I just need to put a pause on this conversation. Let's talk about it later." Because I didn't want to go into my defense. Okay. I didn't want to be like, "Stop fixing me." I just asked him very politely to pause. I just said, I remember sitting there and I took a few deep breaths to center myself because I was getting mad that he was fixing me, and I didn't want him to fix me. I wanted him to do a few other things that he wasn't doing. So I said, just let's pause. Okay. So we got home. Actually, so then we left dinner and we went home to 2 separate cars again. And I was thinking on the way home what I wanted to share with him. And we got home and I sat down, and he came up to me and he goes, "So do you want to talk now about what happened?" And I said, "Actually, yeah." I said, "If this is a good time for you." And again, we want to feel that other person. Are they in their defense? Am I in my defense? We don't want to share our reality and educate them when either one of us are in a defense. We want to make sure we're in a very solid place. And I said, I'd love to share with you, again, pick words that are soft and gentle, but yet clear with what our intention is and what we want. So I said, I'd love to share with you what my experience was like at dinner. And he goes, "Oh, please, I would like to hear that." And I let him know. I said, "Well, I noticed that when I told you I was in my Scorpio place, I said, it felt to me," and I'm going to make up a story because I don't know what your reality is. I said, "But it felt to me when I told you I was overwhelmed that you got stressed and went into fix-it mode instead of," I said, "Is that true?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think it might have been true. When you were telling me that, I did want to, solve your problems for you." And I said, "Yep." He goes, "Oh, I know you don't like that." I said, "Nope." And I said, "Do you know what else that you could have said instead?" And he goes, No, I really don't. So this is again where I hear people say this all the time. Well, he should have known better, or she should have known better to say this to me. No, they shouldn't. We have to teach other people how we want to be treated. They're not psychic. Well, some of us are psychic, but not we can't expect our partners to be psychic, or friends or mothers or fathers or whomever. Let's assume they're not. And let's assume they need to be educated on what we need and what we want in the relationship. We got to teach them. So I said to him, what I would like for you to say the next time I say that I'm overwhelmed or I'm in my Scorpio place, and he knows what that means. I can be like brooding and I can have some anger and all this. So that's why I think he gets a little bit thrown. But I wasn't in that. I wasn't angry. I was just telling him I was in my Scorpio place. I said, I would love for you not to fix me. He's like, yeah, I knew I wasn't supposed to fix you. And I said, what I would love for you to say is, I said, here's some ideas. How can I help you? Or I'm here to listen. So for me, Michelle, that is what I wanted. That would have been really helpful for me. Again, for me, I don't want to hug. I don't want to kiss. And some people want that, and that's perfectly okay. But we got to educate these people on what we want. Again, I'm telling you guys all this because this actually helps them to live in their adult. We're giving them tools. So for example, my husband is witnessing how I'm really calm and I'm sharing I'm boundarying myself. He's having the experience of that. He's having the experience of me sharing with him what I need and want when I'm feeling this way. That is huge because it models for him, how does he do it then when it's his turn? Okay. I never once said to him, I need you to set boundaries, when you feel this way, or, hey, what do you need? Now, I could have asked that, but it was about what our dinner experience was like. So, but, you could say that at some point. But I said, I'd love for you not to fix me and ask what you can do to help if there's anything, and maybe just listen. And he goes, oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. So it was really, really a cool experience. Again, we got to teach them who we are today and remind them. This is a way, again, to blast that filter that we're not from 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 5 minutes ago. This is who I am right now in this moment. I'm calm, I'm stable, I'm human, but I do get overwhelmed, is what I said to him. I said, so I still need help. Because way in the past, when he first met me, I was this wild, crazy Michelle, and I'd go up and I'd go down. And that was how I grew up in this family that was a little bit up and down. So that was how my emotions were. And that has not been me in like 15 years, but he forgets. So when he sees me get overwhelmed, he has this old filter of me that says, I'm going to go way up and way down. I don't do that anymore. So that was the next thing I asked him. I said, I feel like you still get afraid of when we first met. And he goes, yeah, you used to go up and down. I said, when's the last time you remember me doing that? Like, how long has that been? He's like, when we lived in North Carolina, which was, again, we've been in Tennessee 11 years. So that was a long time ago. He goes, yeah, when the kids were really, really little and we first met. I said, yeah, can you just see that that's not me? I need you to educate yourself and let yourself know that's just not me anymore. And he said, you're right. Thank you. So, okay, next. So that was number 2, actually, is teaching them who we are today, letting them know it's 2018. This is who I am today. Updating their filter. Be the best adults we can be. That's number 3, is that's what we want to do. We want to be present. We want to live in fact and truth, to say things like I said to my husband, hey, I'm making up a story that this and that and the other thing happened. Is that true? And they get to say no or yes, or again, I'm modeling for him what's true. And I'm modeling for him how he does this. So it's about responding versus reacting. We respond from the adult. We react from the adolescent. If we're feeling like we're going to react, we walk away. When we have lost our adult, just don't react. Walk away, bite your tongue. And then when you come back, just like I did with him in that example, set your boundaries. Get clear. Express what you need. Okay? And you can even say like, hey, I'd like to talk to you about this. Let me know when you can do that with me. I'd like to do that with you later. And we want to ask when they're not in a heated space, okay? Positive reinforcement is number 4. That's a really big one too. saying thank you for the little things, like who doesn't like that? It feels so good to be validated when we do something kind and then someone says, hey, thank you for that. And we get that positive reinforcement. It feels good to be appreciated. So your friend, your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, aunt, uncle, I don't care who it is, say thank you. Notice when someone does something kind and let them know. That's big. Number 5. Invite and encourage them to share their reality. That again helps to change filters as well. So, hey, would you share with me your experience? And here's the thing, you guys, when we ask someone, again, I don't care who it is, hey, I noticed that you were upset today. Would you be willing to share with me? Hear my words, very soft and gentle and open. What we want to do is we're opening them up to, again, and inviting them to basically sit in their adult and they don't even know it. It's a way to get them in their adult. So it's like, hey, and we feel safe. So we want to make sure we're in a very centered, balanced place. Hey, I'd like for you to, or hey, I would like to invite you to share with me, like what happened to you earlier or yesterday or last week. You know, you're in a really bad space and I'd like to be here for you. I'd like to know what's happening in your world. Something like that, like something really soft and open. And then we shut up. I just want to say, or let me say that in a nice way. Then it's our turn to be quiet or sit in silence and find peace within. It's like we wait. Waiting comes from the adult chair. It's nothing we need immediately. So sit there and wait and be quiet. Wait and allow that other person to go deep within and share. And they might come back and say, well, I was just angry. And then let me tell you again, I think you've heard me say this before many, many times. Oftentimes, anger, yes, it can be a real emotion, but also anger masks other emotions, okay? It's a defense. So it's safer to say I'm angry than it is to say I'm scared or I'm sad or I'm humiliated or I'm lonely. So we just go, I don't know, I was just angry. So we might then turn and say, oh, you were angry. So remember, mirroring helps people, or reflecting what they just said, helps people to go deeper. I don't care if it's your husband, wife, kid, partner. Again, I don't care. Just say, oh, so you're angry. Was there anything else? Like, is there anything else going on? Then be quiet. Let there be silence and let them go within. This is getting them in their adult without them knowing. So it's practicing that with these people a little bit. That would be very helpful. But remember though, if they say something, don't fix them. Just remember, this is not about fixing anybody. This is about encouraging someone to share their reality with you. And number 6 is kind of the same thing. That's, again, don't fix. Be patient and don't fix. I'm going to add be patient to that. And don't should anyone. You know my S word, my should word. Instead, let's replace it with the C word, which is could. And we want to replace should with could. Like, well, you should have done that. That is so shaming. So change it to could. Well, you could have done that, but you didn't. Oh, well, let's maybe do it next time. Okay, thank you. So we are all growing and self-realizing, and we're going at our own pace. We have to remember that every single person on the planet is growing and walking and going down their spiritual path. It's all happening in one of my favorite terms that I've said for years. It's all happening in divine time. Everything happens in divine time. But here's the thing. The soul has to be ready for the next step, and it actually has to line up with, if to use our adult chair terms, it's the inner child, the adolescent, and the adult. They all line up. Then we take our next step down our path. Okay. So we will share our reality when everything feels really safe. Then we'll share our reality. I will set a boundary and it'll fly out of my mouth, and it might just be me saying no, thank you, without giving a reason or an excuse or an apology. Boom. That's because my soul's ready for that next step, but it's lining up again with my mind and my heart and my emotions. So not everyone is ready to move into their adult chair, and we've got to be okay with that. It's like not everybody is ready. So maybe they're going to put their big toe in. Okay. Maybe that's all that their soul is ready for. I remember in my early 20s, I read Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. I mean, that was one of my favorite books because it was like my Bible back then. I was like, whoa, everything I felt my whole life is in this book. So no one had ever validated that for me until I was in my early 20s, all these thoughts and beliefs I'd had, and it came through that book. So that's one of my favorite books to recommend to people. Still, even now at my age, it's been 30 years. But I remember giving that book to one of my really good friends, actually two of my really good friends, when I was about 30. And my one friend, I gave it to her, and she was a journalism major. I said, oh, she'll love this. And she was really spiritual, and I thought, she'll read this book in a day. And she returned it to me at the end of the weekend, and I said, oh, you'll love this. Read it. Okay. And she returned it to me at the end of the weekend, and she said, that was one of the worst books. I couldn't even make it through the first or second chapter. And this guy doesn't know how to write. It was terrible. I'm like, what? I was so shocked by it. I was like, I can't believe it. She says, I couldn't even make it through. It was terrible. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm not kidding you. 1 year later, she comes to me and goes, you're not going to believe this. Another friend gave me that book you gave me a year ago, that Conversations with God, book 1. And I said, yeah. She goes, I just read it over the weekend. One of the best books I've ever read. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? She goes, yeah, I don't know. It's the strangest thing. I started reading it and it just flowed. And I thought, oh, I remember thinking to myself, even back then, is that interesting? She wasn't ready for it when I gave it to her, but she was ready for it a year later. So it's, again, the soul's lining up going, okay, now I want her to learn this. So, and then my other friend that I gave it to around the same time when I was about 30, it's still almost 15, 20 years later. She's now coming back to me speaking things from that book. She hasn't read it again, but the things that she and I talk about are straight out of that book. And I thought, okay, she's probably ready for it now. So again, we don't judge anybody where they are. Nobody's better because they're able to read a book or not read a book. But the thing is we just have to honor that everybody is exactly where they need to be. And the soul's in charge, God's in charge, the universe, whatever you'd like to call it. It's like we're not on the wrong path or on the wrong place on our path, even if our loved ones are not exactly where we are. It's exactly where they need to be. So we need to honor that. But these 6 steps I just gave you will really, really help you to, again, outside of modeling, just show up in your adult and give them these ideas indirectly, remember, and help them maybe get more into their adult if they're ready. So I hope you enjoyed this. And I would like to hear from you guys. I'd love to hear how this is going, because a lot of you have asked me, how do I get my so-and-so into their adult chair? It's driving me crazy because they won't get in their adult chair. So hopefully some of these things will help you. And again, it really boils down to modeling what's best for you. Let them see it. This is great for children. Get in your adult so your kids can see how to be healthy when they get older. So I want to tell you about the book I'm going to recommend today. Of course, I mentioned Neil Donald Walsch, Conversations with God. That's a great one. So that would be another one you could actually get. But here's one too. It's called Enlightened Relationships with Eckhart Tolle, by Eckhart Tolle. He's one of my favorite teachers as well. And for listeners of the Adult Chair, remember, Audible is offering a free audiobook download of your choice with a free 30-day trial. It's to give you the opportunity to really check out what the service is about. I honestly love this service, or I would not be talking about it. I only talk about things that I enjoy. So you can go with my recommendation or something else. Just check it out. And what you have to do to get your free book, again, I mentioned 2. So Neil Donald Walsch, Conversations with God, or Enlightened Relationships by Eckhart Tolle. Go to audibletrial.com and then /The Adult Chair to start your 30-day free trial and claim your first free audiobook. So there you have it. I hope you all enjoyed this today, and thank you again for, I know I got a lot of these questions in that closed group, as well as just a lot of clients have asked me this exact question. So I hope you guys found this helpful and enjoyed it. And I look forward to your questions and comments in the closed group. And have a beautiful week, everybody. I will see you next week in the Adult Chair.